Hello, this is Lisa Tomey, your host for the Prolific Pulse Poetry Podcast and YouTube. And today we have Lisa Dailey. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you, and all the way from Washington State.
hmm
So, an area that I've always wanted to go to. Maybe one of these days I'll make it there. Is it beautiful there now?
It actually is. The temperatures are still a little cool, but it's bright blue skies and sunshine today, which is lovely.
Wonderful. Now, Lisa's with Sidekick Press. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your press?
Sure, I'm a small hybrid press and I focus on a lot of anthologies and poetry and memoir. And you can see a selection of my books up there behind me. Um, I actually got into this. I bought the company from another small press called Penchant Press, and am accepting submissions through the end of the year right now. I have about 4 spots left for books this year. So
Wonderful. Now, will you be publishing some poetry books?
I am, yes. I've just published one called Raindrops from a gentleman, Jack Darby Writer, and I have another one coming up that was just submitted to me by author Brenda Astorino. So that will be coming out in about 4 to 5 months.
Perhaps they would like to come on the podcast as well and talk about their books.
Oh, I'm sure they would for sure. I know that Jack is really wanting to do stuff in person as he promotes his book, but I'm trying to talk him into doing some podcasts as well.
Wonderful. That'd be great. So, how does somebody submit to you?
So my guidelines are on the website, sidekickpress.com, but it's basically just sending me some information about the book and about the author, and then a selection of information.
Okay,
So
great.
I think in there I have 3 chapters, but if it's poetry, I'd want to see a larger sample.
Right. That seems to be pretty typical with poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have to have see a little bit more to know kind of what's happening there
hmm
for sure. Well, that's great. And you also have the a red wheelbarrow. Is that how I'm saying that correctly?
Right. So I'm part of the Red Wheelbarrow Writers group here in Bellingham. They're an organization that's been meeting monthly for 5 years, or sorry, for 10 years. I've only been a part of the group for about the last 5 years. But as a group, we've published 3 collective anthologies. The first 2 were both prose, and then this latest one that we published in October was our first collective book of poetry.
Nice. That's great. I was just pulling it up here. Should here. Oops.
There it
Sorry
is.
about that. There's the Uncommon Solitude. Okay.
hmm Right. This
Okay.
was this actually came out of last year's NaPoWriMo, the writing a poem every day for the month of April. A lot
Hmm.
of our Red Wheelbarrow writers were writing every day and writing about the pandemic. And so it was proposed that we put together an entire anthology of pandemic poetry. And so we had about 30 different authors all submit work and edited by 3 of our more prolific poets, and came out with this lovely book that has been really well received.
Wonderful. Now, are you doing anything for NaPoWriMo this year?
Um, we haven't decided on doing another anthology. It's usually every other year, so
Hmm.
that would be probably another year out. But the group is very active. They're all writing every day, and they write in a private group so that they can, if they ever do decide to publish, their work would not be considered previously published.
Okay. I understand that you have some poetry from this particular book.
I
Would you
do,
like
yes.
to share that with us today?
Sure. This is one when we met in April, we typically go around and introduce all the members and ask a question. And on this day, as we were kind of gearing up for this anthology, we asked all the members to just say a line. And then we compiled those lines and made a collective poem, which really starts out this anthology. So the title is I'm Here, Nothing Else to Do by Red Wheelbarrow Writers Collective. These empty streets, stores closed up, the urban silence magnifies birdsong. Sequestered in pandemic, I'm longing for my grandkids. Dogwood flowers perched atop branches alter my perception. Time has utterly changed, and a day is as long as a heartbeat. I sense urgency, but nothing I can do. Gratitude, I'm still here. Out of balance sleep patterns, moods change, and I feel useless. One long writing retreat, nothing else I can do. One siren a day, eagle and hawk forage while crows scream. My life is fluid, like dropping acid, hard to read. And I don't even get dressed. Going downhill fast, this grim pandemic spring, a dollop of despair. Frantic people throw things into carts. You're masked, you can't see faces. My body floats in an ocean of disconnection. But forest colors are vibrant. The border is closed. Rabbits sit on my front porch, juxtaposition. Grateful and vulnerable, I'm just here.
Accurate description of the pandemic for sure.
Those were the very early days when we were all sort of in that state of disconnection.
Right. I think we might be loosening up a little bit and getting out a little bit more. That's great. Now I understand some congratulations are in order. You have a book out.
I do. I just recently released my own memoir, which is called Square Up, 50,000 Miles in Search of a Way Home.
Okay, could you tell us about that? A little more detail?
Sure, yes. This is a memoir, and it spans a 7-month time period where my husband and I took our teenage boys out of school and traveled around the world for 7 months. But the trip also came for me on the heels of some pretty extraordinary grief when I lost 7 different family members in a period of 5 years, including my mom and dad and 26-year-old brother. So it's sort of my tale and my journey through grief, and kind of going from this woman in control to a woman very much out of control. And the backdrop of the world sort of serves as my healer and my guide.
Wow. I can imagine that being, able to take that trip like that was probably very healing for you.
I think it was most definitely. Yes, it kind of let me put my everyday life on hold and really just focus on what I needed to focus on.
Here we go. Square up. Have you ever wished you could run away and leave your life behind? Well, that is a wonderful, although I'm sure sad
There's
adventure.
moments of sadness in it, but there's also, my husband is a very happy, exuberant fellow, and he definitely provides some comic relief and moments of lightness throughout. And I included my kids in it too. The first write through, I actually had written it without them, and my critique group said, no, 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 they really need to be in here. They're a huge part of it. So they're a big part of it as well.
Wow. I'd have to make a purchase today because that looks very interesting. Well, that's great. And you're going to be doing some presentations, I understand, a Zoom meeting with the bookstore?
Yep, my local bookstore here in Bellingham, Washington is called Village Books, and they are fabulous. And so I'm officially launching the book on April 24th at 4 p.m. Pacific time through Village Books, but it's also Independent Bookstore Day that day, and they've asked me to come down at noon and be sort of outside the bookstore signing books. So that's going to be really fun to see people and sign books for people.
Great. I'll definitely have to get that link and put that in the show notes so that people can see.
Oh, sure, I'm happy to
Video
send it
that.
along.
That'd be great. Okay. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to share?
I don't think so. I think you covered everything.
Okay.
I have another poem to read if you'd like to
I,
hear one
I
of
would
those.
love to hear another poem. That would be great.
Okay. This one is called Hands by Bidu. In medical school, she marveled. Tissues and tendons cast to articulate a smile from words from thin air. The face, a landscape of untold beauty. And then tasked to dissect a human hand, she wept. Unfurling 5 fingers, a universe appeared. History itself. These days I pause in moments, untangling hair strands swept across my temples. Circling soap round and round. Blue cup rims, watch how note by note a symphony of movement plays, simple as weather. Awestruck by each exquisite miracle my fingers willingly do. Pressed in prayer, palm to palm, such as pilgrims the bard once penned, I now hold my own hand in ways few men ever cared to learn. This uncommon solitude has become a gentle lacing, deep longing with nature's grace, a moment in history when mine, like lovers, lucky to fumble, are as blessed as stoic old couples reaching through the clouds or across the table to hold whatever remains after this storm.
Another very appropriate one for the time.
That was one of our editors, and she also, that's where the title of the anthology came from, was This Uncommon Solitude, the line in her poem.
Thank you so much for reading that.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you so much for coming on here today. I will be sure to share your information in the show notes. And then thank you so much for your time today, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thanks.